look, we've been treated very unfairly by Canada. We've been treated very unfairly by Mexico. But we've been treated very unfairly by every country all over the world.
We will apply maximum pressure to maximize our leverage. That's why today we're moving forward with a 25% surcharge on electricity exports.
In a dramatic U-turn of sorts, US President Donald Trump has decided to pause his plan to double tariffs on Canadian steel and metal imports just hours after initially threatening to raise them to a steep 50%. This unexpected move comes amid rising trade tensions between the United States and Canada, with both the countries engaged in an ongoing trade dispute that has already resulted in significant economic consequences.
As you know, there's a very strong man in Canada who said he was going to charge a surcharge or a tariff on electricity coming into our country. He has called and he said he's not going to do that. Okay, he's not going to do that. And it would have been a very bad thing if he did, and he's not going to do that, so I respect that. But we were just informed that he's not going to do that. Favor. He didn't ask me for this. I said, you know, Elon, I don't like what's happening to you.
Will you make a different decision now about the tariffs on Canada? Will you reduce it?
At that, but probably so, yeah. He was a gentleman.
Will you reduce it back?
He was a gentleman. Look, I think our country had to do this. We had to go and do this. They've taken away, other countries have taken away our business. They've taken away our jobs. I did it initially very strongly against, as you know, China and some others in the first term. And it was a very successful term. We had no inflation. We had the greatest economy in the history of our country.
Tesla stock is
you're
also...
going to have drops and markets are going to go up and they're going to go down.
Yeah.
But you know what? We have to rebuild our country. Our country has been stripped of its jobs, of its factories. And I'm tired of seeing where they build apartments, cheap apartments in an old broken down factory. But you have factories all over the place that are empty from many decades ago. And we're going to change it around. And it's all taxing policy. He's become a member of the press. Takes great pictures. What do you think of it, Margot? Do you like the idea?
I love it.
Okay,
We're going to have fun.
They're very happy.
The pause on the 50% tariffs provides a temporary relief for Canadian exporters, but it's not a complete victory. The original 25% tariffs, which were previously announced, will still go ahead, set to take effect on the 12th of March. These tariffs, which have been a point of contention for months, will continue to impact Canadian goods entering the US market, raising the cost of steel and aluminum exports. Earlier, Trump had ordered his administration to double the tariffs on Canadian steel and aluminum imports from 25% to 50%. This decision was made after Ontario Premier Doug Ford announced his own controversial move to impose a surcharge on electricity exports to the US. POTUS's tariff threats were seen as a retaliatory response to the electricity surcharge, further intensifying the trade war between the two countries. However, Ford agreed to temporarily suspend countermeasures to allow for negotiations.
USMCA compliant products coming in from Canada would be exempt until April 2nd from the tariffs?
The market is going downhill quicker than the American bobsled team right now, and it's unacceptable. The situation he has put American families in, Canadian families, and around the world, it's just going to hurt. And as for the last interview you had with aluminum, the U.S. only manufactures 16% of their aluminum.
Right. Again, it is a very small amount in comparison to what's coming in off the southern border. But if you could go inside his mind as one leader to another, what would you think?
Well, first of all, he was the one who put this deal together, and he said it's the greatest deal ever. And, you know, President Biden hasn't touched this deal. So what has changed? And as for the border fentanyl, I always say 1 gram is too much, but we've put over 10,000 personnel on our borders. We have fixed-winged aircraft, helicopters, everything. But what he doesn't report is the hundreds of kilos of cocaine that we just apprehended at our border, just Ontario alone, the opioids, the fentanyl, the guns, the illegals coming across. I agree. Let's tighten up the border, and we have actually. We've really tightened it up. So that I agree on, but it works both ways. I've sat down personally with the DEA. Our federal RCMP, they're working hand in hand with our Canadian Border Patrol and along with the U.S. Border Patrol. We all agree. But don't use this as an excuse, because that's all it is.
This latest development marks just one chapter in a complex and ongoing trade war between the United States and Canada, with a lot of back and forth. While Trump's decision to halt the doubling of tariffs offers a temporary breather, it also highlights the fragile nature of trade negotiations.
A little while ago, I had an opportunity to speak to Secretary Lutnick. And Secretary Lutnick has sent out an olive branch to us to come down and immediately meet with him, meet with the whole trade administration, and discuss the future. Rather than waiting till April the 2nd, threats going back and forth, tit for tat, I've agreed to suspend temporarily, and we always have that tool in our toolkit, until we sit down over the next day or two. I'll be heading down to Washington along with Dominic LeBlanc, and we'll have a good discussion. There's a point that both parties are heated and the temperature needs to come down. And I thought this was the right decision. They understand how serious we are about the electricity and the tariffs, and rather than going back and forth and having threats to each other, we have both agreed, let cooler heads prevail. We need to sit down and move this forward. So I want to thank Secretary Lutnick for reaching out, putting that olive branch in. I've been in business a number of years, a lot of negotiations, and part of the last negotiation, when someone does that, you have to respect that person for putting out that olive branch, and I'm going to make sure we go down there and have a very good but strong and confident conversation. But if he continues with the aluminum and the steel, I just got off the phone with Minister LeBlanc. They will respond dollar for dollar, tariff for tariff.
Both nations have experienced economic strain from the back and forth tariff hikes, and the situation remains fluid. For more updates on the US tariff and the trade war, stay tuned to the official YouTube channel of the Indian Express.